Somebody say process. So the kingdom has processes. There is a kingdom way to grow a church. There is a kingdom way to finance a church. When we finish the ark, I will share my experience in a whole sermon on financing projects. That it is possible in 2022, 2023 to build a building like that when all your members are students. And in 2 years, none of them can testify to being levied once. I will preach a sermon to show that your city can be a hub of Yahoo boys, but none of them contributed a dime to the project. I will teach that in a season of famine, you can advance because the one who initiates the project must sponsor it. Church financing must be by the Jesus way. Many ministers have not seen miracles financially because they cut too many corners. I was sharing a few years ago when I saw that it was difficult to run the ministry. We're not even building. Buy fuel. We had no church staff, but buy fuel, repair things, buy a few equipment. And I went to the sender. Was the plan that we start church and we are struggling? Was the plan that my family goes hungry because every money we get goes to the ministry? There's a stage for that, but it's not forever. Are you with me? Good. So what's your plan to fund this church? Because me, I was minding myself as a plan design engineer. You told me to go and start ministry. What's your plan? God said people give tithe and offerings. That's how church was run in the wilderness. Or they gave offerings. I said, but we're giving tithe and offerings, but it's not enough. So he asked me, when do you take tithe and offerings? Oh, that's the last item before we share the grace. Why? I said, because people will not come early. Abi? Even those who take offering early, they still have late comers offering. As you are going out, if you came after the offering, they don't tell them to come and redo praise and worship. There's no opening prayer for you if you came late, but that offering, you must drop it. On your way out, there is a basket at the door. Make sure you drop your offerings, right? Good. So, I said, because they come late, we want to finish everything, we'll now drop offerings. The Lord now asked me, what is the wisdom behind giving offerings and tithes? Until you find that wisdom, you will not know what aspect of your service that thing should feature. Why do you do opening prayer, Ebenezer, at the beginning of a service? Why do you do opening prayer? There's a wisdom. It's that we want to start with God, right? So we don't put that prayer at the end. I now said the wisdom is to give to you. We need to run this thing. He said no. He said the wisdom is honor. And so if you give offerings at the end of a service, it is an offering of dishonor, because people who come late have already registered as dishonorable people. So if you are waiting for them to add what comes out of dishonor to the plate, there will be scarcity. So what should we do? He said, when do you start service? I said 4. He said the offering must be collected before 4:30. One thing a day. He kept quiet. It means do what I said. The first Sunday we attempted it. I gave instructions during the week. The first Sunday we attempted it. Tithes and offering went up 5 times. And it has stayed 5 times apart from one Sunday. That Sunday, the offering went back to what it used to be. And so, I'm like Joshua. And I went back to God. What did we do now? Why did we overcome Jericho and we are running away from Ai? He now said, somebody collected offering of dishonor. Now this is mystical. why did the offering drop the day they collected late offering? Should it not be next week? Abi now? It should be next week. Because what God was telling me was that that offering affected what everybody gave the same day it was taken. The Lord now said that your chief usher has not hallowed that instruction. So the disgust for that instruction came before we called for offering. So he adjured that disobedience even before it happened. So those who were willing to give refrained from giving. And I went to the ushers. All of you come. Who is the person here? Chief usher, God said it is you. She said yes. How much did you collect, girl? So one brother brought tithe of 250. I can use 250 naira to crash our offering. I remember that day, that offering was 19,000. So you think it's still good for a student assembly? All of them have gone to church in the morning, so they have given offering. So our offerings are just whatever remains. But it was 19,000. So I rebuked them. You go to God and ask for mercy. But since that day, we've not had that shaking. I don't want to tell you what our Sunday offering looks like now, but it can do a lot. Some Sundays you can buy a generator. And it was one act of obedience that shifted honor. Because there is not just in God the communication of what to do, there is also the communication of how it must be done. That's the process. That's the process. Because this is not my core teaching, I don't want to give you many examples. Have you seen many churches raising funds online before, on Facebook? It's not a nice place to raise money, because fraudsters can come and clone but the Lord said, go to Facebook and raise money from this church for this building. So we went there. When we fellowshipped, we were 45. I think it was year 3 of ministry years. We were 45 for maybe like 9 months. And I went to God. What's the plan? Are we just supposed to be 45? One of our leaders said, churches do flyers. We didn't even have money for flyers. So let's be doing evangelism. Now, if we want to do evangelism, the purpose of evangelism is what, Pastor Universe? I know you are burdened for souls. Is what? What's the purpose for evangelism? It's so willing. It's not membership. I've been our pastor. It's so willing. If the purpose of our sharing tract is come to our church, we need to name it well. It's called church advertising. Say, give your life to Christ, or church marketing. Give your life to Christ, but they don't need to come to our church. What they taught us to say was, make sure you go to a Bible believing church. Well, there's an addition now. There are pastors who believe the Bible but don't teach it. So it must be a Bible believing and a Bible teaching church. And that's where people can grow. Are you with me? All right. So the Lord said, so now I went to the Lord. Because in the ESCO meeting, that time we used to do ESCO meeting every 2 weeks. Now I do 2 ESCO meetings every year. Because the church is a spiritual organism. It does not thrive by opinions. It thrives by instructions. So in those 2 ESCO meetings, if you come and you say you have an idea, you must not speak. Because you can't use idea to run something that is spiritual. If God has not spoken to you, be quiet. That's how I run my own meetings. I know it's a bad model, but it works.